Welcome to this MagicQ Tutorial 7, Editing Cues. In this tutorial we're going to show you how to edit cues in different ways. I've got a MagicQ show with a very simple patch. We have 4 Roby Spot 1200s and 4 Roby Wash 575s. So I'll go to my layout 1. You can see I've got a group for my spots and my washes. I'm going to start by making a cue stack using my Spot 1200s. So I select my group of Spot 1200s, locate, record that as the first step in the cue stack. Change the colour to red, then I'm going to change the position, tilt it up a bit, and then record that as my second cue in the cue stack. I'm then going to change the colour again, make another position change, and I'm going to fan the X position apart and record that as Q3. So you can see I've now got 3 cues on this cue stack. I'm going to clear the programmer, and then what I'm going to do is double click on the S button and change the timing to Q timing, so that instead of a chase it's a Q timing. We see now if I activate that cue stack, that is the first step, that's the second step, and that's the third step. So I'm now going to deactivate that cue stack. Now to look at the data within a cue, you can go to the cue window. So you put the cursor, for example, on the first cue here, and then press View Cue. And this shows the cue data. So you see in this cue that the dimmer is at 100%, and cyan, magenta and yellow are all at 0, which is giving out white. I can then use the next and the previous buttons to look at the different cues in the cue stack. So at the moment I'm looking at Q1, I press next cue, and now I'm looking at Q2, and you can see that in this cue it's red. If I go to the next cue, it's green. You can directly edit the values in this window if you want. For example, I could go into this box here and just change the dimmer to 50% instead of 100%. Change it back to 100%. However, changing the data in this view can be quite intensive if you've got lots of fixtures. So I'm going to show you several different methods for editing the cues. I'm going to close this window, and then first of all I'm going to show you the include and update method for editing cues. I'm going to start by editing the third cue in this cue stack I've made. And to do that, I'm going to include the third cue into the programmer. So I go and I select Include, and then I'm going to type 3 for Q3 and press the S button. You can see in the status bar it's now told me that it's included QID 3, and in the visualizer you can see that it's got the cue in the programmer, which is green. If I look in the programmer window, you can see that you've got all the data in this window, including the green, that you would have done when I first recorded this cue. So including a cue is like bringing the whole cue back into the programmer. I'm now going to make a change to this cue in the programmer. So I go to my normal layout 1, and I'm going to change the colour to magenta. Now at the moment this has just changed the data in the programmer. In order to update back to the cue, we have to press the update button. So that's now updated the cue. I'm going to clear the programmer and then run the sequence. So that's our first cue, that's our second cue, and then this is our third cue, which was green but is now magenta. So that's the first editing method, including and updating. You take the whole of the cue into the programmer, modify it in the programmer, and then update back to the cue. The next method I'm going to show you is merging. So this time, instead of including the cue into the programmer, what we're going to do is we're going to override it in the programmer and then merge that change into the cue. So at the moment that cue is magenta, so I'm going to select the spots and then I'm going to change it to blue. So now in the programmer we've got the blue colour. If I show you in the programmer window, we've only got colour attributes in the programmer, the blue, And what we're going to do is we're going to merge that directly into this cue stack. Now if you had a MagicQ wing, you can do that by holding the S button and pressing the record key. As we don't have a wing connected at the moment, I'm just going to use a shortcut, which is pressing record followed by update. So record followed by update just record merges into the current cue of the selected cue stack. So now I can clear the programmer, and I can show you when I run this cue stack that my cue is now changed to blue. So I've merged directly into that third cue. It is possible to merge into multiple cues at the same time. So for example, if I go back to my spots, I'm going to pick just my first spot, spot number 1, by pressing the next head button, and then I'm going to select yellow. And I'm going to merge this time into 2 cues at the same time. In order to do this, I'm going to select shift and record. And this gives me merge options, and I'm going to select record merge and then type on the keypad 1 plus 3. So I'm going to record into cues 1 and 3 on this cue stack. It tells me its programmer is being merged. I clear the programmer, and now as I run this sequence, you'll see that the first cue has got my yellow in it, second cue hasn't been changed, and the third cue has got my yellow in it as well. So I merged into cues 1 and 3 at the same time. You can use the through or plus or minus to select different cues in the cue stack. We can also remove information from cues using the record remove method. Before we start doing record remove, we clear the programmer, otherwise we may remove items that we want to keep. So we press the clear button, then we're going to select our spots, and I'm going to press next head to select just spot 1. I'm then going to put into the programmer some colour information for spot 1, just green in this case. You can see that I've just got some colour information for the 1 spot head number 1. Now it doesn't matter exactly what the data is in terms of its value, it just needs to be in the programmer. So when I then record remove it, MagicQ will take it out of the cue stack. I'm going to do shift and record, and then record remove, and I'm going to press the S button here. In this case, MagicQ asks me, do I want to remove from the entire cue stack or just from the current cue? I'm going to remove this colour information from the entire cue stack, and then clear the programmer. So that now you see that the fixture has the same colour, which is just the last colour I was using, yellow, in each of those cues. If I show you in the cue window, you can see that there is no colour window. You can see that there are no colour attributes for this spot number 1. They've been removed completely from the cue. This is the record remove. It is possible to get this information back into the cue. For example, what I could do is I could copy the information from head 2 to head 1 in all of the cues, and I'll show you how to do this. So first of all, we're going to select shift and copy to get the advanced copy options, and then we're going to select copy heads. I'm going to select 2 at 1, so I'm copying from head 2 to head 1, and then I'm going to select the item to copy the heads in, which is this cue stack, and select the entire cue stack. And you can see now that I've copied from head 2 to head 1 in each of the cues. So if I run the cue stack again, my cue stack is back to how it was before, and that's a simple copying from one head to another within a cue stack. Now I'm going to show you how to merge in a complete set of other fixtures into the cue stack. So I'm going to go and select my wash lights. I'm going to locate those, and I'm going to put them in a colour, and I'll change the position so that we can see them a little bit better. There. I'm now going to record that into each of the 3 cues. So I'm going to do shift and record, select record merge, press the S button, and select the entire Cue stack. If I clear the programmer, now you'll be able to see that each of those 3 cues has got the washes in it. I show you the cue information, you see that the cues now have the spots and the washes. Step through the cues and see that all 3 cues have both the spots and the washes. So that's an introduction to editing of cues. For further info, please visit www.camsys.co.uk.